There we go. So our pharynx is highly adjustable. I mean, it's adjustable for a lot of good reasons. When we swallow, right, where's the food go? It's going through. You don't want it going up in there. That would be bad. We've all had that experience of somebody telling a funny joke or something while we're swallowing, and food goes in a bad place. Okay, but food's got to go through here to get down to our esophagus. We don't want food there. We would be coughing really severely if it goes there. But, so there's muscles, constrictor muscles, that help feed the food along the the happy trail down to your tummy. But those are muscles that we don't want to have active, those swallowing muscles. We don't want them constricting when we're singing. But we're adjusting some of those areas all the time when we sing. You know, our larynx is moving slightly up and down, and our tongue's moving forward and back, and our palate's moving up and down. Okay, we're opening and closing our mouth, rounding our lips. So all of this area is highly movable, and we're moving it all the time when we talk and when we sing. So we can vary the size and shape of all those things, and that thus changes their resonance characteristics. So, Upsaleaf. Right? I can play Happy Birthday. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can't get the high note out. But so I'm able to change the shape, and you hear different pitches. We'll come back to that when we start talking about vowels. So, but by changing the shape, then we're changing what pitch those things, or the vocal tract is going to resonate well with. Okay? And as we just saw, that the opening of our mouth to the outside world, if you remember from the bottles, has a big impact on what frequency, what pitch that thing wants to resonate at. Okay? Now, we can adjust how taut and loose the walls of our mouth and so on are, but that's not something we should worry too much about, and it's not, you know, it's not like we want to make the walls of our mouth really tight to reflect more sound or something like that. Typically, the tighter things are, the more tension we have, the worse we sing. So we don't want to be doing a lot of that. So, reasons why we might have constriction. Remember Alexander technique? So if my head's falling off balance, just listen to my speaking voice, or I'll sing. I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound bad, it does. So, you know, if my head's off balance, then I'm going to start recruiting extra muscles that I don't want engaged when I go to sing. How many of you guys wore braces? I did. Okay, well, you know, how old were you when you had the braces on? Middle school, high school? I was like middle school.
I was like, oh, they were on.
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. You've got all these pokey things on your teeth now. What does your tongue do? Stay away. Stay away. I don't want to be poked. Right? And so sometimes wearing braces can be a cause of retracted tongue habits that people have. It can also be just the way, you know, you've been modeled, your parents and family members and friends model their speech, and then you pick those things up and you ingrain those in how you talk. You know, the retracted tense tongue is, you know, that's the Kermit voice, right? Okay. Like that?
I thought Cleveland, but that's the different
Huh?
show. I was thinking of Cleveland, but it's a different show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's Kermit. Weird habits with how we articulate consonants. okay, like L. Sometimes we have things going on with where our larynx is positioned, too high, too low. Okay, things are not in balance in terms of those extrinsic muscles that, you know, lower or elevate our larynx. This is something where speech pathologists have really been working in recent years, and that is that if things are out of balance inside your larynx, very often we compensate with the other muscles to try to kind of help for something's weak there, okay? Another thing that often happens is if we sing with too high of a breath pressure, i.e. we're pushing, then we engage some of those swallowing muscles and tongue muscles and jaw muscles because there's just too much force going on, okay? And if we look, 4 and 6. So these are those constrictor muscles. I would advise you when you're doing the homework thing, which I'm starting to talk like Lawrence Welk, homework thing. Yeah? When you're doing the homework thing with that Melissa Maldy article that's on Blackboard, because all the questions are based on it, it might be good to get your DVD or being on the McCoy website and looking at some of the images. It's in the articulation section because as she's talking about those different muscles and things, it's good to kind of look at the pictures. So these are swallowing muscles. We don't want them engaged when we sing. And these are palate muscles, okay, the Palato Colossus, or sometimes in some books, and in some things that you will see from me, you'll see it pharyngopalatine, same muscle. Palatal raising muscle here, levator. Think of, you know, Wingardium Leviosa or something. Anyway, uvular muscle, okay? So it's just good to kind of have the visual while we talk about it. Okay, the tongue. Everybody's favorite. It's our most important articulator. Because everybody do an NG. Okay, your tongue backs up, and especially the back part of your tongue raises and meets your palate, and pretty much completely closes your mouth off as a resonator, so everything goes through your nose. Okay, now do E, ah, oo. E, ah, oo. You feel your tongue moving around for those? Okay, E, A, ah, O, oo. E, A, ah, O, oo. Now obviously you feel your lips around as we do the ah, O, oo. But your tongue also is doing some movements around. It's really, really good at kind of coupling our pharynx with our mouth cavity and kind of regulating where those two things are they basically acting like one big tube, or is it more two separate things? Parts of our tongue also have attachments with the hyoid bone and your epiglottis, so that's going to affect where your larynx is, because your larynx is attached in large part to your hyoid bone, okay? And so a lot of those, any of those tongue muscles that have hyoid in them, they've got an attachment to your hyoid bone. And then we also have tongue muscles that have fibers that make up your soft palate and also the walls of your pharynx, okay? So it's not uncommon that you'll hear somebody who has tongue tension and nasality at the same time. Some kind of a nasality thing. Particularly people that have had a teacher or a choir director who had them do lots of NG exercises. I mean, like lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of NG exercises. Because that's kind of training in that palate down, tongue kind of retracting thing if you do it to excess. And I actually experienced that in my lifetime. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. Okay? Hard habits to break. Oh, I should go back. So there's our tongue doing its little dance. And you're saying, well, how do they know this? Well, they've video recorded people doing these things for many, many years. And here's another, come on, go, there we go. So this has some of the tongue muscles. Okay, so here's one, Palato Colossus. It makes up part of your soft palate. It also goes into your tongue. Styloglossus goes from your styloid process kind of back there behind your ear and down into your tongue. Genioglossus, so that's here from your chin going up into tongue. Hyoglossus, okay, from your hyoid bone up into your tongue. Lots of connections with your tongue. Let's move on. An ideal vocal sound. So you've got the best space for that vowel at that pitch and that dynamic level. I'll say that again. So you've got the best space for that vowel, making that vowel intelligible, at that pitch and at that loudness level. Because what do we do when we sing louder? Typically we open our mouth a little more, right? Okay? When we're going through our range, do we not modify vowels? We can call it any number of things, but that is what we're doing. Who is vocally warmed up and would like to sing something for just a second? Okay, well, that was oversounding. Okay, Austin. Let's think. Okay, on an oo vowel. Can you do that? Feel free to just like let her rip, man. Okay, you see him doing some adjustments. Let's get one of the ladies up. Yeah, come on up. Thank you. Okay? So let's do on an E vowel. Yep, one more shot. Yeah. Okay, so she's doing some adjustment. Yeah.
He's weird.
Yeah, it is. Now that's an F on top. Would you probably open it a little more? Go ahead and feel like sing on out, like you were singing solo. Okay, she's really not singing an E vowel up in there anymore. She's doing the closest approximation for that note. Okay, so she's finding that most favorable space to give us something intelligible as that vowel for that pitch and that dynamic level. And you notice when she sang out more, she modified more too.
Yeah.
Okay? So much for the one size fits all, 3 fingers in the mouth, drop all the time kind of thing. That's not going to really give you the most efficient, the best, the freest sound. Let's talk about placement. What is placement? It's a result. It's a symptom of how we're shaped, right? So if I sing E, everybody sing E. E. Okay, what do you feel? When you sing E, what do you feel?
It's free, it's comfortable.
Where do you feel it?
Where do I feel it?
Yeah.
I'm just forward.
Forward.
Yeah.
Okay, now do E, I, E.
E-I-E.
Do you feel different sensations for the 2 vowels?
Yeah, he's more focused.
Okay, so we can use what we feel to guide us, right? How many times in a lesson you're going along and your teacher goes, yeah, that's it, that's the money note, and like, what did that feel like? And they're like, tell me what that feels like. Or put that into words, or where do you feel it? Because they want you to remember muscularly the sensations of doing that, so that then the next time you can come back to that. So the sensations are great, but they're not the thing causing the sound to happen.
Oh,
See what I mean? They help you recapture it, your memory of the sensations. But you've already got to be shaped that way in order to feel it. You see what I'm saying? You've got to have the television tuned to the right station to see that program. Seeing that program doesn't get the television to that station. You going, ah, there, that's it. Okay? So it's a result of us being aligned in a certain way, breathing in a certain way, shaping ourselves a certain way, things happy down here. So they're the result of us doing all those things, and they're not the cause of it. Okay? Really important thing. It's like the menu at a restaurant. The menu can tell you what's in it. You know, okay, you're going to have this kind of thing and so on, and you can look at that and you can go, oh yeah, I can see those two things together, you know, or whatever. But the experience of you having it in your mouth is something very, very different. You know, the menu can't cause you to feel it that way. The menu might help you remember, oh, I have had that before, okay? But it doesn't cause you to feel it like that. Okay, so ideal sound is not generated by placement, focus, sensations. We can recapture that voice production as a result of what we feel. But just make sure that our placement doesn't cause it to sound like that ah or that ah or that ah. You've got to be in that ah or that ah or that ah to feel it that way, and the feeling is just is the result. Okay, I've said that 14 times. But that's a big one. That's a big one. And also, you know, when you're working with a student yourself, which you will be doing, it's really important to not just say you need more space. Because if you're working, especially with a beginning student, okay, I need more of something I don't quite understand because that isn't what you wanted. So if they don't know what you want and you've just told them more, they're going to go, more what? So try to be as specific as possible. You know, you need more space where? You know, and your teachers who've been teaching for many, many years will say, okay, you need to feel like there's more this, you know, and they'll give you a pretty specific thing to think about, you know. Okay, I need more mouth opening, you know, you need more this kind of space, okay? Because so as a teacher, your students may not understand if you just blanketly say, and you need more space, you need more space. You've got to tell them, okay, what I mean is I'm seeing your mouth is not open enough, so we need more of this opening space. Or I feel like you're constricted, you know, and we let something go there, and then you'll go, oh wow, that feels like there's tons more space. There's probably a millimeter more, but you just let all the tension go. And it feels huge as a result. Okay. So we've got a couple of different articulatory motions that really are kind of key. Where are things the most narrow? So that's primarily what your tongue and your palate are doing. Okay? So where your tongue is the highest, so like when you do an E vowel, your tongue is pretty far forward, and that highest part of your tongue is quite forward. You know, but the sensations of focus we feel are probably, if we could get a little microphone in there, it's probably the narrowest spot is right where you're feeling. The narrowest spot is probably right where you feel that. Because if you go, I mean, I can feel that spot kind of move, and that's where my tongue is the highest, shifting as I do the different vowels. So where that high hump of your tongue is relative to the walls of the back of your mouth or your hard palate, really, really important. Okay, and that's kind of included there. And then just how long we are. Because those are the three big things that affect vowels, really, really importantly. If we've got a longer vocal tract, we're going to have a darker, lower responding resonator, a darker timbre, okay? Lower frequencies are going to be stronger. And these two things have to do with, is it a front vowel or a back vowel? Is it an E or an A or an I or an at, or is it an ah, o, oo? Those two kind of major series of vowels.
Is it true that if you have a longer vocal tract and so a lower, richer sound,
Mhm.
that you need brighter vowels overall for more focus?
Well, probably in terms of how you think about it production-wise, because the natural tendency for someone like that is to be on the dark side. In order to kind of balance things out, you may really need to think. Yeah, I mean, a case in point, Ben Hepner, I've talked about, and I've got pictures of him with me and Ingo near my office from time to time. Baritonal kind of quality to his voice, but he was a tenor. And he always, intentionally, you could hear him like, okay, I really want to keep it brilliant and ringing, but it had this rich quality too. You know, he had found that good balance. You know, all of us have kind of a natural tendency one way or the other. My voice is naturally pretty bright, you know, and sometimes it's like, oh, a little too thin there, John, you know. So I have to make sure that I don't get too far that way, you know. So I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand
I
what you
just
mean.
think of Miss P always says when we're coming down the staff to
Oh, yeah, as you're,
refocus,
yes.
so I
Well,
think
and
with a
that's
lower
more,
voice.
yeah, that's more talking about, well, you know, you've opened on the way up and then you have to close
Refocus
again.
as you go down.
Yeah, you have, I mean, modification-wise, you have to close, vowel-wise.
So I wonder if basses need overall more focus.
Let's save that question for another day. That's a more complicated question. Soft palate, 1 T. 1 T.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Because an artist's palette that he paints with,
Palette.
or she paints with, that's the double T. No, this is the 1 T. 1 T. Okay. Same thing as the velum. So if you see that, velum, that's just the fancy anatomical word for soft palate. Not vela, as in the Harry Potter books, which I'm starting to read again, in hot anticipation of the new movie coming out in November. And we're taking a trip to London, and I'm hoping I can send them tickets to the play. I've heard it's been sold out for like 2 years, but they offer a couple. And anyway, so our soft palate, a digression. You know, your soft palate has a whole bunch of muscles that kind of weave together, and we'll see this tomorrow. We can raise and lower our palate. I mean, everybody go, Okay, there it's down, yeah. Okay, and now, ba, 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 ba. Now it's up for the articulation of that B. Okay, so you can raise and lower it. It can do a little bit of this front to back thing, depending on what your tongue's doing. 5 muscles make up your palate. We don't want it, never shall it move, nor do we want flabby, you know? We don't want, it's always down, nor do we want it's always rigid. I mean, believe me, don't want it. Yeah, now, here's a little thing you can do. Isn't this a lovely picture? Okay, so soft palate. And you can do a little mapping thing. You can wash your hand and kind of poke around and feel, okay, where does the soft palate start? And sooner or later you'll, you know. You'll notice there's the little pillars in the back of your mouth. There's like the front set and the back set. The front set is the Palato Colossus, or on the handout you may have, glossopalantine, okay? So that one is got stuff in your palate, fibers up in here, and goes down into your tongue. the back one is the palato pharyngeus, and so it's involved in your palate, and then that muscle goes down and into the side walls of your throat. So your palate is related to by muscle attachments to your pharynx as well as your tongue. So nothing really acts independently in here. Everything's connected. And your tonsils are there, hidden in between two. Yes, ma'am?
What happens when you remove your tonsils?
Well, they take the tonsil out. They try to not do anything to these muscles. It's not uncommon that people get a little scarring immediately after, and that this area is kind of stiff. But no harm to your singing voice. In fact, I've known people who had hugely inflamed tonsils, that were like big, obstructive kind of things, and they had the tonsils removed. And once they kind of got over the surgery and got everything kind of loosened back up again, it's like, my gosh, it feels like I have so much room in there now that they weren't used to having. Okay. Here are palatal muscles, okay? McCoy calls them the Palato Colossus and the Palato Pharyngeus. It's the same muscle. I need to change the PowerPoint. Those two lower your palate. These two raise it, your uvular muscle, so your uvula, and the levitate palatine, okay? And then the tensor palatine kind of tenses and flattens it. Jaw tension. Well, it can be a whole host of things causing it. We talked about body alignment. It could be that you have your jaw joint mismapped, that it's somewhere other than it is, and then you're using all sorts of muscle stuff to follow the map you've got of it. It can be breathing things, because everybody put your hand here and take a real quick gasp in breath. You'll probably feel a lot of those muscles engaged there, okay? So somebody who gasps for breath, they're probably going to have jaw and tongue tension. Imbalance of the extrinsic musculature, tongue tension. Typically, if a person has tongue tension, they have jaw tension, and vice versa. Too much breath pressure. I had bad jaw issues when I was singing too heavy, too dark, too full. Too much Puccini. My little voice trying to sing Puccini. Hello. Seriously, what was I thinking?
Is jaw tension and tongue tension, how is it related to pushing? Pushing causes tension, or tension causes pushing?
Chicken or the egg. But the pushing thing, very often we will get this compensation stuff that happens as a result of the pushing. And so those muscles kind of...
And that's too high of breath pressure?
Yep. Yep. Jaw and mouth opening. Well, we already saw this earlier, right? When we were singing different pitches, when Alexia and Austin were singing different pitches, they adjusted their mouth opening a little bit, okay? She was doing an E vowel, he was doing an U vowel. They're an octave apart, too. I encouraged them to go ahead and sing out, and we noticed some modification changes. Okay, all of these things are going to play into. So for me to say to singer A and singer B that they need to open their mouth the same amount, no. In general, if I'm working with a choir and I'm looking at the soprano ones, I'm like, ladies, you're going to need to release more, okay? Because I'm looking at you and I just don't think that's enough. You need to release more, okay? But I'm not going to tell them, okay, everybody must have 3 fingers, because that may not be the case for everybody, okay? And it's going to vary upon how long you have to stay on the note and how high and, all those things. So just remembering flexible approach. Our lips are the same way. I'm pushing on to the end here because I think we only have 2 more slides. Yeah. They need to be relaxed, mobile. There isn't a correct position. Again, it's going to vary with your innate mouth shape, what pitch you're singing, what vowel, dynamic level, timbre. So just remember jaw opening and lip shape that needs to be fine-tuned for your individual voice singing that note in this piece. How's it approached, how's it left, rather than the one-size-fits-all things. Last thing, because we'll see this tomorrow, is sinuses in the skull. Now, we will see them. William Bernard actually did this. He had someone inject gelatin into those sinuses, and he sang before and afterwards and had it recorded, played it back for people who had no idea what they were listening to for. No difference whatsoever. That's just like, you feel like you're so stuffed up with a cold, and yet people say you sound fine, I can't hear anything at all. Okay? In general, think about this. Everybody hum. Okay, on the count of 3, pinch your nose. We did that before, right? If it doesn't have an opening to the outside world, it doesn't contribute to the sound that the outside world hears. So you may feel it coming out of the top of your head, but it ain't. It's coming out of your mouth. What everybody else hears is coming out right here or out of your nostrils. It's not coming out the top of your head. You may feel it there, and that's groovy if that helps you get your beautiful high note. More power to you, but just remember, we are not like, Shamu or something like that. We don't have a blowhole up here, okay? Alrighty, so tomorrow I'll put up the map, 11:30 at the Dolph Briscoe Library. I'll put up the map, okay? Good class, y'all. It's a lot of stuff. Yes?
I mean, I'm sure that would be, like, fine. You can definitely come, I just don't know what's happening. I don't know if we're just gonna be like, I don't know what, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm like,
So did I. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And then if you, yeah, it's that would work, especially when we get to the ones where you're supposed to watch like 3 students.
Yeah.
I mean, the same student twice, like to see like things like that.
Yeah. That would be.
If you, yeah.
I can't remember, is the anatomy trick required?
Just because I don't
It's
know
not
what's happening to
required.
you, even if it's
Yeah.
not like.
Not like.
Like, if we're sitting there talking, yeah, like,
They want me
yeah.
at a different place.
Nothing,
Okay.
you know.
You can do it next year. You do it every year.
You're right.
So, that last question, the last one. Since we mouse over certain parts without the DVDs.
Oh.
So if I can test one, if you wanna do that, or not worry about it.
Did I take off points?
Yeah. Tell me what you want me to do.
I'll just fix the grade, because it's not hugely important. It's okay.
I mean, I watched all the little videos and it's not like any of it is really that hard for me to remember.
Right.
But if you,
That was the only thing.
yeah, that was the only thing on there because you can't, they don't allow you to like mouse over things and whatnot on them.
Fixed.
I don't mean to be a pain, it's just I don't have the
No.
DVD.
No, it's perfectly okay.
Do you want me to do that question then? Okay. Cool. I just, this lack of DVD thing is fun.
Yeah. He changed it on me. I didn't know he was doing that anymore.